Hi, my name is Mia. Like many of you, I used to struggle with learning English. Simple phrases, basic commands, they all seemed so confusing at first. But then something amazing happened. I met Max, a golden retriever who could talk. Yes, you heard that right, a talking dog. But here's the twist. Max only understands English. Today, you're going to join me and Max on a fun journey to learn English through a story filled with simple words, commands, and lots of laughter. In this video, you'll learn how to give basic commands like sit, stay, and come here. These are phrases you can use not just with a dog, but in everyday life too. So make sure to turn on the subtitles and repeat after me to practice your pronunciation. Let's start our adventure with Max. You're going to love him. Suaves de revisor. It was a bright, sunny afternoon when I first met Max. I had been thinking about adopting a dog for months, and finally, I decided to visit the local animal shelter. Among the barking and wagging tails, there he was, a cheerful golden retriever with the kindest eyes I'd ever seen. The moment I approached his kennel, he tilted his head and wagged his tail as if he was waiting for me. The adoption process was quick, and soon Max and I were on our way home. He sat in the back seat of my car, looking out the window with excitement. I couldn't wait to start teaching him tricks and introducing him to his new life. When we arrived, I grabbed his leash and said, "Let's go inside, Max." To my surprise, he turned to me and said, "Okay." I froze. Did my new dog just talk? "Did you just say something?" I asked, still in disbelief. "Yes, I did," Max replied. "But here's the thing, I only understand English." I couldn't believe it. A talking dog who only understood English. It felt like something out of a dream. I decided to start simple. "Sit, Max," I said, but I couldn't help accidentally mixing in my native language. Max gave me a confused look and stayed on his feet. "You need to stick to one language," Max said, wagging his tail. "Try again. Say sit." I took a deep breath. "Sit, Max," I said clearly this time. He immediately sat down. I clapped my hands in excitement. This was going to be an interesting journey for both of us. Suaves de revisor. Over the next few days, I focused on teaching Max some basic commands. He was a quick learner, but only when I spoke in clear English. If I mixed in words from my native language, he would tilt his head and say, "That doesn't make sense." Try again. One afternoon, I decided to teach him how to fetch a ball. I grabbed a bright orange ball, held it up, and said, "Max, go get the ball." He just stared at me, his tail wagging slightly. "Max," I repeated, "go get the ball." "You're overcomplicating it," Max said, shaking his head. "Just say, fetch." I paused. "Fetch?" "Yes," he said. Short and simple. I held up the ball again and said, "Fetch." This time, Max dashed across the room, grabbed the ball in his mouth, and brought it back to me, his tail wagging furiously. "You did it," I exclaimed, clapping my hands. "Of course I did," Max said proudly. "You finally used the right word." I decided to try another command. "Max, stay." I walked a few steps away and looked back. Max hadn't moved. "Good boy," I said, smiling. See? It's all about clear communication, Max said. As the days went on, Max and I continued practicing. Sit, stay, and fetch became second nature to him. But then, I tried something new. One morning, I asked, Max, are you hungry? He looked up at me and wagged his tail. Yes, I am. I laughed. You're the smartest dog I've ever met. Flattery will get you everywhere, Max replied with a playful bark. Through these small lessons, I started to notice something. Teaching Max wasn't just about training a dog, it was helping me improve my own English skills. I was learning to pronounce words more clearly, to simplify my sentences, and to avoid mixing languages. Max, of course, was quick to point out my mistakes. Don't say, "Do you want food now?" He said one evening, just say, "Are you hungry?" It's shorter and clearer. He was right. The simpler I made my sentences, the better he understood. One day, I decided to test Max with a challenge. I hid the ball behind the couch and said, "Max, find the ball." He looked around the room, sniffing the air, until he finally spotted it. He grabbed the ball and brought it back to me, wagging his tail proudly. "That was amazing, Max," I said. "It's all in the instructions," he replied. "You gave me a clear task, so I knew what to do." By now, Max had mastered the basics, and I felt more confident speaking in English. Max wasn't just a talking dog, he was the best teacher I'd ever had. As we wrapped up our practice session, I realized how much progress we'd made together. Learning with Max wasn't just educational, it was fun. As I reflected on my time with Max, I realized just how much I had learned. Every command I taught him had been a lesson for me as well. Let's take a moment to review the key phrases and why they're so useful, not just for training a dog, but for everyday conversations in English. The first phrase, sit, is simple but powerful. It's a one-word command that can also be used in different contexts. For example, if you want someone to take a seat, you can politely say, "Please sit here." Next, we have stay. This command helped Max understand that he should remain in one place. In real-life situations, you could use this word when asking someone to stay put. For instance, "Stay here while I get something." Then there's fetch. While this is often associated with dogs, it's also a useful verb in other contexts. Imagine you're at work and someone asks you to fetch a file or a document. It simply means to go and retrieve something. Another important phrase is, "Are you hungry?" This question taught me how to make polite inquiries in English. You can use it when asking someone if they want to eat, or even adapt it to other contexts, like "Are you thirsty?" or "Are you tired?" Finally, I learned to keep my sentences short and clear. Max responded best when I used simple phrases instead of complicated ones. For example, instead of saying, "Do you want to eat something right now?" I learned to say, "Are you hungry?" By practicing these phrases with Max, I gained confidence in speaking English. Max wasn't just learning from me, I was learning from him too. After mastering the basic commands, Max and I decided to take our training to the next level. I introduced a few more phrases to challenge both of us. "Max, jump," I said one morning, holding a small hoop. At first, he looked at me as if to say, "Are you serious?" But when I repeated the command with a smile, "Jump," he leapt through the hoop. That's it, I clapped. "You're amazing," Max wagged his tail. "You're not so bad yourself." Next, I tried teaching him. Roll over. I demonstrated by rolling a small ball across the floor and said, "Roll over, Max." He hesitated but eventually lay down and rolled onto his back. "You did it," I laughed, rewarding him with a treat. As our training continued, I noticed how these commands could be used in different situations. For example, jump could be applied when encouraging someone to take a leap of faith, jump into the pool. Roll over could be adapted metaphorically. Don't roll over and give up, keep trying. We also practice give me your paw. When Max extended his paw, I said, "Good boy." This phrase reminded me of how we greet people with a handshake, and I realized it could teach polite interactions like, "Can you give me a hand?" By connecting Max's training to real-life contexts, I saw how these phrases could help me in my daily conversations. For example, "Come here" became useful when calling someone over, and "Stay here" worked perfectly for asking someone to wait. Max was no longer just a dog to me, he was my partner in learning, and together, we were building skills that would last a lifetime. Looking back, my journey with Max was so much more than just training a dog. It was a journey of learning and growth. Through simple phrases like "sit," "stay," and "Are you hungry?" I not only taught Max new tricks, but also gained confidence in speaking English. Max taught me that clear communication is key, not just with him, but in everyday life. Keeping sentences simple and direct made all the difference, whether I was asking Max to fetch a ball or learning how to express myself more effectively. I hope our story inspires you to see how fun and rewarding learning English can be. Remember, every small step matters, and with practice, you'll improve day by day. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe and watch more videos to continue learning English in an engaging and entertaining way. Max and I will be waiting for you on our next adventure.